Good afternoon to you, Aletta. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed today. And some of the topics that I like to air in my episodes, well, the essence of it basically talks about self worth. And if it's misconstrued, it can lead into not being able to stand up for your own self and exactly what you talk about, which is having your presence known, and especially in the career world. So it is a privilege to have you here. And for my tradition, I would read up a bit of introduction of my speakers to my audience, and then we can dive right into it. Hi, everybody. We have Aletta here. She now resides in Cape Town. So Aletta believes that stagnant careers shouldn't happen to good people. Yes, that's true. The job market is definitely competitive. You need to be able to confidently speak up for yourself and sell your ideas. I think I struggle with that myself. So she is an executive presence coach who teaches her clients to build executive presence so they can be promoted and hired. She is the author of Speak, Connect, Succeed, Build Your Reputation as You Speak. Her clients come from many different countries, all seeking to accelerate their careers by building their influence and credibility. She is lucky enough to live in Cape Town, South Africa at the moment with her husband and I think 3 kids. So welcome, Aletta. Thank you, thank you. So let's walk down a bit of a memory lane. What was your childhood like? Has it always been in South Africa? Was it somewhere else?
No, I'd say I had a very nomadic childhood. I was born in South Africa. My father was in the mining industry and he was a specialist shaft sinker in mining. So we moved wherever they had needed his expertise, we'd move to. And I started nursery school in Zambia. And then when I was about 6, we went to Canada and stayed there for a while. And then we went to Tasmania and then we came back to South Africa. And then I went to boarding schools. So I had a lot of different schools. I think in total I had 8 different schools. But in
Wow.
an amazing way, I had a lot of opportunity, obviously, to travel from a very young age. And it also taught me a lot about how we communicate, because when you're the new kid in the class and you've got to fit into this new community, you have to figure out how to communicate with people. And I think that's where my love and fascination of communication skills began. And then as an adult, I also moved with my husband being transferred to the US and later to the UK. And those same skills I used as a child, I used as an adult to fit into those new communities. And then eventually, when I started coaching, I found I was teaching those same skills to my clients. So, yeah, that's my childhood in a nutshell.
Wow, very diverse background. So what were you doing before you started coaching?
Well, my early professional career was in marketing management, consumer goods marketing, and I did that for about 10, 11 years. And then got married and started a family, and that coincided with my husband being transferred overseas. So I couldn't work when I was in the US or the UK, and I had young children at that time. So for many years, I was raising 3 beautiful kids and very lucky to be able to do so. And then, of course, when I wanted to do something in the work world, I had to come back out of the this absence. And I'd heard that people say women lose confidence when they don't work for a while. And I never thought it would happen to me,
Yeah.
but it did, real.
Mm, yeah. I'm that it's very prevalent now, and many. I know women. They always have to choose between being with their family, but at the same time, if they're climbing the corporate ladder, they'll have to forego that. And then when they come back, I think speaking to people like you just brings the perspective again, like we really are superheroes. We just we have dreams, we have goals to achieve, but at the same time we are wired to we are nurturers. I mean, in
Yeah.
essence, right? And therefore we are often I don't want to say, I mean, a lot of people are trying to change that trajectory already, but yeah, one step at a time. So, okay, Aletta.
Sorry, I just wanted to add in that we often make the mistake of thinking that time spent at home raising kids has got no value in the workplace. And it actually is the opposite is true.
Mm.
Because while I was raising my kids, I had to do long-term planning. I had to do strategic thinking. I had to learn to negotiate and to influence. And those are all work-related skills. But somehow we think because they happened at home and not in the office, they don't have value. But actually they do. We've just got to learn to tell.
Oh, you actually brought a very good point, and that's a whole new perspective. Yes, because you're negotiating with your kids, and they are not familiar with the business jargon, and but still the negotiation. For example, you're negotiating with them, and the skill of communicating where you have to simplify something so that they understand, and it make them think maybe a few steps ahead of, let's say, a consequence that they were about to do something, and then what will happen if they do it, and what will happen if they don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it
well,
goes
that's really
be
interesting.
negotiating. It could be negotiating with the teachers at the school or service providers in the
Mm.
or medical people. You know, you're advocating for your child. You're trying to make sure that everything is happening in the best interests of the child. And
Right.
that becomes primary focus. So you have to become almost the champion of that child and make sure that you get the best out of service providers. So it's a very multifaceted, and let's not even mention time management. You know, time management with three
Yeah.
young kids, you know, I don't need to tell you what that's like. So all I'm saying is I'm reminding us ladies that the time spent with kids has value in the workplace. Don't think they're completely separate.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Let's dive right into it then. So, why do people struggle to sell their ideas?
Mm. It's probably, you know, of all the clients I've worked with and coming from all corners of the world, that's probably the most common issue. And somehow society seems to have told us that we shouldn't be arrogant, number one, and we
Mm.
shouldn't kind of take it for granted that we're better than everybody else. It's almost like society wants to remind us that we're just average. So we struggle to speak about our skills. And so often the mistake I see people making is they have a very good CV and they apply for a job and they expect that CV to do the talking for them. It's all there in black
Mm.
and white. You know, can't you see how wonderful I am? But
Mhm.
then you can't, in that moment, especially I'm talking interviews now, or even in a meeting, you can't bring that to life. You've got to be able to vocalize and speak about what you're good at. And the best way I've found to help people get over that reluctance to speak up is to say to them, you've got God-given talents. There's something that you're good at. You have an ability, let's say, to manage people in a team or to work very well with Excel spreadsheets or to be a problem solver, whatever it is. That's a talent you've been given. You can use that talent to help solve a problem. And if your mission is to serve and solve problems and add value, why wouldn't you tell people what you can do? Because you can add value, you can solve a problem, you could be the thing that they're looking for, but they're not psychic. Unless you speak it, they can't just sense that you are brilliant at whatever you're brilliant at. So we just have to rephrase it in our mind. And the other thing that I've noticed is that, say now you've got a superpower or a talent, you're really good at writing copy for social media. Because it comes easily to you, you kind of tend to trivialize it and you think, oh, it's nothing. You know, anyone can do
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, they can't do it. And people come to you for help doing that specific task. And that's often a clue as to what you are good at. What do people rely on you for? What do they come to you for? And that gives you a clue as to how, in their eyes, you add value. And then you can start saying, okay, actually, I am quite good at this and people need me. Let me share what I can do to help solve a problem, to add value. And just start exercising that muscle of speaking up and saying, yes, actually, I'm quite good at that. And nothing's going to happen. No one's going to think bad of you because you are wanting to contribute by using your special.
Mm. But what happens if, let's say, that person, he or she does all of the things, and then, but he or she also is very good at juggling a few things. I mean, of course, prioritization is important, but they can manage which one to complete first, depending on the priority. And then, but let's say the management doesn't deem like they deem like the rest of the things are trivial, except for this one or two like big things. But if you don't attend to these small things, they will not move, and it will have an impact as well. How do we navigate through that?
I think the way I approach it is I always say to my clients, try and get a helicopter view of the situation. In other words, you can get stuck in the task, whatever it is. This has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. But when you take a helicopter view, you rise up above that and you see how that relates to the bigger picture. So while you might be talking about inputting data for whatever it is that you're doing, the impact of that not being done well is that the project is late, or the project incurs more costs, or other people are waiting for that to be in place before they can go ahead with their part of the project. So it's by reminding everyone about the bigger picture and how what you are doing relates to the bigger project, the business, the profitability. By doing that, you remind people that those little things do matter, and that if you can help get the little things done on time within budget, you're going to help the big things get done on time and in budget. So think about what's important to the company specifically. It's usually they're very keen to save time, very keen to save money, to improve productivity, or to become more efficient. Those are universal needs no matter where you are. So anything you
Yeah.
can contribute to help people save time, money, become more productive or more efficient is going to be a value add. And often the way I see things is different to the way you see things, because we've got different abilities. So sometimes you have to speak up and tell people what you see so that they can see it the way you see it and therefore come to the same conclusion. But if you keep quiet, nobody has the benefit of knowing that wisdom that you've got, or that relationship between things that only you have seen. So we need to hear your voice on a team, because you've got a unique perspective that could be a game changer for everybody else.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. I could apply some of that. Okay. So, Aletta, what stops people from getting promoted?
I'm going to tell you how I experienced the work life when I started my career. I found office politics incredibly confusing. There were rules that weren't written rules, they didn't make sense, and so had a liaison with so and I just couldn't make sense of it. So I thought, well, let me just go and do my job. And I'd sit in my office and I'd do whatever was, my responsibility to do. But I think secretly I was waiting for someone to discover me. I was waiting for
Mm.
someone else to say, oh gosh, she's really good at this. We should give her a promotion. We should, give her more opportunity. And I relied on the hope that someone else would see what I was doing and place a value on it and speak up on my behalf. And like many others, I waited a long time to be discovered. It doesn't just happen like that. You've got to be able to communicate what it is you do. And I had a lot of learning to do. I had one boss who gave me a performance appraisal where he told me that I wasn't giving him the same level of work as somebody else on the same level. And I was so angry and I blamed him. It was his fault. Meanwhile, what he was telling me without actually saying the words was I wasn't communicating with him. I wasn't telling him what I was doing. So he couldn't see what I was doing. He wasn't psychic. Therefore, he didn't appreciate the value that I was adding. So most people, they don't get promoted because they're not visible. They perhaps, like I was, hiding in their office, working hard, really doing their best, but they're not visible to other people. So you have to be able to Share your thoughts and ideas in a meeting. Speak up. Let people know what you think and why. Because if you're quiet for too long, people overlook you. So you've got to be able to speak up for yourself, share your ideas, share the bigger picture thinking that we just spoke about a moment ago. And you've got to do that on a continuous basis. So much of it, Nicolette, is wrapped up in self-confidence. Self-confidence and self-esteem are at the root of all this. And if you're not a confident person naturally, and even if you are confident naturally, it doesn't mean that you can speak up for yourself in the way you need to speak up for yourself. So you've got to, my advice would be find a mentor, go for coaching. Just keep looking at the people that you admire and aspire to be like. What are they doing? And learn from them. Ask them for advice. But you've got to speak up for yourself. You've got to make a habit of, in a meeting, sharing your thoughts. Because if you're there for an hour and you're not speaking, why are you there? You've got to have value to add, and people have to hear your thoughts. So I think it's a habit that you cultivate. It's not an event. Getting promoted is not one thing you do right and then you're promoted. It's a series of contributing and adding value over time that make you stand out from the others and therefore be the person who's most likely to be promoted.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm gonna have to do some thinking and planning and strategizing up to the core. What does it take to get into the C-suite?
You know, when I was in working for big corporates, I sometimes scratched my head because I thought I could do better than those people in the C-suite, because from the outside it looks easy. You know, why wouldn't they pick
Yeah.
me? And over time, it takes a lot to get to the C-suite. Number one, you've got to be exceptionally good at what you do. You've got to be able to get on with other people. Even if you are in the production department or the IT department, you have to interface with people from every department. And one of the biggest teachings I had was working for Kimberly-Clark, the first company I ever worked for. And being in the marketing department, you'd often launch products or change the packaging for a product. And whether I changed the word on a pack or whether I launched a whole new brand, I had to go through what they called an authority to proceed process. And it meant I had to go to speak to 14 heads of department and get them to sign off on whatever change I was planning. And why it was so important is if I went to the head of market research, that person would be looking for different information to the head of production, to the head of finance, to the head of quality control, whatever it is. So I learned that I had to pitch it to them in a way that made sense to them. I had to answer their specific questions and make sure that they were happy before they would sign off. And to get to the C-suite, you have to be able to see things from other perspectives. It's not just about your department and your team. It's about how your team interfaces with other teams, how you add value, how you communicate, and how you get the job done. So I think people skills are often underrated. The technical skills we get relatively easily through studying or going on courses, but it's this so-called soft skills. It's your ability to relate to people, to inform them, persuade them, inspire them, to hold people to account. Those soft skills are wrapped up in what I call executive presence. And the more you can be someone that communicates well and shares ideas well and listens to others and finds solutions, the more likely.
Wow. When I first started out my career, I think back in 2009, I had the same thought. Becoming a CEO is simple, but after being um, for over a decade in the working industry, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with where I am now. But having said that, after hearing what you said, it's always been um, something that you can be the C. If you want to be a C, everybody can dream. But how to get there and getting yourself prepped along the way, and also whether you're a good fit for to be the CEO, because Yeah, and it also depends on the industry that you want to be in, and it's not just because of the status or when I was younger it was that, and now it's definitely not that. And if it's a public listed company, you're accountable, you have a fiduciary duty to your shareholders. So, but how am I relating that? Whatever that you just mentioned is, I think, if people, anybody who wants to climb the corporate ladder and aiming to become a C-suite, they just need to have the good skill set and, like you said, coaching, mentoring, getting themselves ahead, personal or career development goals, because you have these things and you'll mesh well. And yeah, God's willing, you're gonna go and get it. I might just consider, because I'm
How do you want to be?
yeah.
You've got to say, why do I want to be in the C-suite? And obviously, it could be prestige, it could be money, it could be that that's the logical next step, but it's got to fit into the rest of your life. And everything
Mm,
comes at a cost. So
yeah, yeah.
learn that the top job is maybe not always the optimal job. Maybe there's another role that you're really good at, that you're passionate about, that you love doing, and that might be a better fit than the top job. So I think do some self-analysis and say, what is it I want out of life? Never mind, what do I want out of a career? And how do I best go about making those puzzle pieces fit together? And it may be the CEO, it may not be. You've got to figure that out for yourself, but stay open to many options, because that's the wonderful thing about this world we live in. There's so many opportunities, but not all of them have the title of CEO, but they can be equally
That's so
rewarding or more
true.
rewarding. So
Oh yes.
just spend some time defining what it is you want and why it's important to you, and that'll help.
No, this became a mini coaching session for me. Thank you. Thanks, Aletta. Okay, what mindset do you need to accelerate your career?
Say,
What mindset do you need to accelerate your career?
oh, I love that question, Nicolette. Thank you for asking that. So often people have a skill set, but they don't have the mindset to leverage their skill
Mm,
set. So the
yeah.
mindset you need to have, I believe, is number one, where you want to add value. Because if you're going into a job and you just want to take and get what the job can give you, that's not the correct mindset. You want to be able to go into that role and say, how can I add value to my team, to this project, to the company? Because then you're in the right mindset to give and to grow and to help others give and grow. The mindset that you need to get the executive presence to get to the top or to get to the right place is one where you believe in yourself, where you believe that you have value to add, where you believe that your voice is worth hearing. So it's if you go into that mindset you want to give, then it's easier to speak up. It's that conversation we had right at the beginning of this interview where I said, you've got a God-given talent that can help solve problems. So if you go in with that mindset, then it's easier to speak up, to sell your ideas, to build influence, to build credibility. So for me, it's a very positive, authentic mindset, but it's comes from authenticity. It comes from the desire to contribute. What I'm not saying is you don't need the mindset of, I am the most important person in the room, I need to speak the most. It's not
Mm.
about you. It's about how you can bring out the best in people and in your team and in that project to get the job done. So that value adding, contributory mindset, to me, is brilliant. And of course, if you love what you're doing, that's so much easier. But you've got to care for the people, care for the job, care about yourself, but bring that positive mindset to work. And most days it might be easy, but on some days it's not that easy. So you've got to pick yourself up off the floor when you've had a difficult time and go back. But if you can stay positive and focused and contributing, I believe that is a powerful mindset. And people will notice that, because not every.
Wow. Changing your angle to how can I give more value, and I let me use that as a fuel for me to speak up, and not because I want to be known, because I feel like I'm more superior than the rest of the colleagues, of my colleagues or other people, but more of like, oh, why don't we do this? Because if we do this we could probably save more or be more efficient in this area. Wow.
I'd like to share that I find very useful when you in a meeting and people are disagreeing, you can often get
Yeah.
stuck. You know,
Yes.
I want it my way, you want it your way, and nobody is willing to give. And it's
Mm,
very difficult to move on from that because somebody's got to lose. So
that's
one of the
right.
techniques I find that helps really navigate that is to try and get people into what I call a place of possibility. So you use language like, what if we could do it another
Mm,
way? What if we could try a pilot program for 3 months this way and then check and see if it's working and then decide whether or not to
gradually
change it?
move it to the second phases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's getting people away from no to what if, imagine if. Can we try this? Can we do a pilot program? And if you are the person that can facilitate that conversation in a team, that is exceptionally valuable. Because when teams get stuck, nothing happens. But if you can navigate your way out of it and encourage other people to step into that place of possibility, that obviously enhances your executive presence, but it also facilitates problem solving. So and that's a mindset that you have. It's not the mindset of it's my way or the highway. The mindset is let's find a solution. What if we did it this way? But it's getting everybody to contribute. It's listening and it's collaborative in nature. And that's very powerful.
Oh, I love the topic. I have so many ideas in my head right now. Thank you, Aletta. Okay, so now you've mentioned about this a couple of times just now, but let's give it to our listeners today. How can one develop their executive presence? Is there like a maybe like a simple step by step, or just few things that they just need to look at? Then they can start building their presence from there.
It all starts from what I call owning your superpowers. At
Mm.
the beginning of our conversation, we spoke about what are you good at, what are your strengths? And without that understanding of what you're good at, it's harder to speak up, and it's harder to advocate that I'm the person who can help you solve the problem. So one of the free resources I point many, many clients to is a free online test called the High Five Test. It's
Mm-hmm.
www.high5test.com. And what I love about this test, you do it, you answer a whole bunch of questions, it gives you your top 5 strengths, but it gives you the language to say how those strengths impact a team or a company, how they add value. So it makes it easier for you to use that language to express how you can add value. So owning your superpowers is step number 1. From there, you start practicing speaking up fearlessly. You start appreciating that we need to hear your voice, and you speak up at every meeting to add value, not just to speak up, it's to add value. And you keep on developing that skill. And within that, there are lots of other skills that I teach my clients, how to respond to criticism, how to say no in a positive way, how to speak up for yourself and for, resources or whatever it is. So, owning your superpowers, speaking up fearlessly. And then from there, we go on to strategic thinking and uncovering your charisma. And then finally, we get to embracing your executive presence. But much of this, Nicolette, is lots of little bits of techniques to overcome one small problem. And that's mostly why I work with clients for a year at a time, because then we've got lots of time to hone these skills, to be intentional. Being intentional before every meeting, before every phone call, before negotiation can really change the results you get. And there's so many little facets that go into the mindset, the speaking up, the exercising authority, building your executive presence. So it's almost like a kaleidoscope of skills that come together, but they mostly are rooted in the way we communicate. And that's why it fits so beautifully into this whole communication space, that your executive presence is communicated. It's not in your CV. It's not on a title on the door of your office. It's how you relate to people. That's where they see it. That's how you express.
Wow. Okay. I might just consider you as one of my coaches. Well, yeah, we'll take it offline. Okay. So right. This is a separate question line, but it also touches on executive presence. The question is, how do I attract the attention of senior management?
You want to build trust. And how do you build trust? You build trust by being reliable. And that's, on time, always delivering what you said you would. And if you can't, you communicate clearly that there's a delay so that people can plan for it. You do more than you are expected to. In other words, you don't just think of, I've got to do this spreadsheet and that's it. You say, I was thinking the other day that if we changed this little thing and added this process to it, we could get early warning if customers were dissatisfied. You add value. So you go beyond just doing exactly what is in your job description, and you do more. And you do that over a period of time. Put yourself in the shoes of someone at a higher level. What would they be looking for? Generally, they want to know that they can trust you, that you're reliable, that you've got the interests of the company or the project or the team at heart, that you're a good team player, that people like working with you. You can be as brilliant as you like, but if people can't work with you, they're not going to choose you, and you're going to be noticed for the wrong reasons. So just think every single day, how can I add exceptional value today from where I am? And keep doing that, keep adding value. And in time, people will notice that. And then you can look for opportunities to go further.
So I guess after hearing what you said, the first few questions that we mentioned, it's about balance, right? I mean, we could at one hand do the work, sit down, but also be able to be brave enough to set your foot across the, I don't know, what do you call that, the small lake, to get on the other side, meaning the elevation, the new role that you're aiming for. But at the same time, knowing that, okay, I make myself, I'm doing this for the right reason, with the right intention. I have a goal, but then at the same time, let me, trust the timing as well and do my work. And then, yeah.
Think of it this way, Nick. If you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to continue to get the same results. And it's very easy for us to be in a comfort zone. And a comfort zone is a little bit like a playpen. You can't grow much in a comfort zone. So when you are willing to embrace the idea that I'm going to try something new, I'm going to be braver than I've been before, I'm going to, try and speak up at a meeting, whereas before I never would, that's stretching that comfort zone. And you can't just do it once and expect it to change. You've got to do it multiple times. And as you do that, if you, for 3 months, at every meeting that you're in, you practice speaking up, by the end of those 3 months, you're going to have built your confidence. So then you've got to say, okay, now I speak up at every meeting. What else can I do? And you take the next step, but you've got to keep pushing yourself, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the growth happens. It doesn't happen when you just do what's easy for you. It comes with being uncomfortable, but that's how we push ourselves to grow. And we're on a journey. It's not an event. So it's not just doing today's work and I'm going to get promoted. You're going to keep pushing yourself so you first. And then over time, that'll help you get promoted. But we've got to do something different, and we've got to believe in ourselves, and we've got to speak with that belief. And that's something you practice every single day. It's not just done and then you can tick that off and move on to the next thing. It'll be with you for your whole life. So just embrace it, do something new, try something new.
Very valuable. Thank you so much, Aletta. Okay, so we're gonna pivot to a question on self-worth. So the question for you is, what are some of the common misconceptions about self-worth, and how can we debunk them to help others on their journey of self-discovery?
I think the biggest misconception that I see is that we think that self-worth comes with a label or a price tag. In other words, I'm only worthy if I get to the C-suite. I'm only worthy if I earn X, or I drive this car, or I wear these clothes. And that is probably the cruelest and most misinformed way of self-worth, of looking at self-worth. So self-worth for me, it's an inside job. Only you can determine your self-worth. If you're waiting for a label or an office or whatever it is to determine your self-worth, you're always going to be chasing something, because you'll get to that corner office and you'll think, oh, well, that person's got a better office. I'm not worthy until I get there. And you keep chasing, chasing, chasing. And one of the biggest skills in life, I think, is to determine what is enough. And if you can disassociate self-worth from the car, the clothes, the corner office's salary, then I think you get closer to being the true person that you are. So if you took all those labels away from you, what is unique about you? What is something only you can do? So if you're part of a family, only you could give some validation to your parents or your brothers or your sisters or friends or whatever, because that's uniquely you. And how can you add kindness? How can you show that you care? How can you add value? And I keep using that word, it's adding value. How can you be a positive force in this family's life, in this person's life? And that doesn't mean that you look after them at your own expense. It just means that you're willing to give in a positive way. And I believe if you build your self-worth from that vantage point, then it's not related to the corner office, the car, the jewelry, whatever else you got. Because it's very easy to be seduced into thinking, I'll be happy when I drive a fancy car. Well, you'll get that fancy car and you'll realize you're still the same person and not much has
Miserable.
changed. Yeah, except you're still maybe paying off a lot of money on that very fancy car. So try and find your self-worth within you, and just celebrate who you are. When you look in the mirror, think, wow, I'm so impressed. You did well today. You tried really hard. You were brave. That's the self-talk, because self-worth is often related to how you communicate to yourself. So you've got to be your biggest cheerleader. And when you look in that mirror, you've got to celebrate what you see. Nobody else can do that for you. But if you make a habit of that, so much else will come right. It'll be easier to speak up in meetings if you believe that what you have is worthy. But it all comes from within you. So be kind to yourself, be patient to yourself, celebrate even the smallest of wins, and even celebrate that you tried, even if it didn't go the way you expected. That self-care and kindness is worth more than any.
Thank you. Again, beautiful reminder. I ask a lot of few of my guests similar questions, and they all go back to the same thing. And it's just every time I hear it from a different person, everybody brings that. It's different people, but same energy. It needs to be embedded in people's head. Like, if you strip yourself out of the from all of the accolades, your achievements, who are you exactly? Like, what like you said, we are truly unique in our own ways, and we're all different, and you should just be authentic. And you matter. Sometimes when you are down and then you feel like, oh, nothing's going the way that I want it to be, why am I even here, why am I even and then you go back to, why was I even born? Why, what? I don't think I'm important. No, there's a reason why you're here. I mean, yeah, you matter. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Aletta. So, what is next for you? Any future plans, books, or are you gonna have like perhaps a conference? You're going to be traveling.
I have my executive presence group coaching program, which I love so much. And I keep adding value to that. It's been going for about a year. So I keep on trying to build that, inviting more people to join. In the process of doing that, I've created what I've called an executive presence toolkit. And it's
Mm.
templates and guides, worksheets, and thought processes. Because as I said to you, it's like a kaleidoscope of all these different tools that you need and skills that you need that contribute to your executive presence. So my next big project will be to take that whole toolkit and probably publish it as a book. Because some of my clients have just said it's helped them so much. Because if you're dealing with criticism, how do you do it? If you have to say
Yeah.
no, how do you do it? And then there's a resource in there to take you through the basics of it and take the guesswork out of it. So you don't have to do it alone. So that's something I'm very excited about. And I don't quite know how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it, but it's definitely growing.
It's in the
And,
pipeline.
and
Beautiful.
to your point earlier about what are you good at, in the process of doing that, I realized that's what I'm good at. Of taking something that I've done almost by mistake or innately and decoding it into a process that other people can follow. So I've just done that again and again, and I've shared it with my clients who have had really good results. So now I want to.
Wow. Can't can't wait for that to happen to you. You're doing great things. I feel it. I feel it.
Thank you.
I've spoken to so many coaches, and it's like, when you resonate to certain people, because sometimes you just vibrate at that same frequency. So yeah. Wow. So this is, when you were talking, I just had like, I had an inkling earlier, like, why are there so many coaches out there? I don't know, probably hundred thousands, millions, probably, that are working or as coaches, but everybody is unique again, and you will gravitate towards those that maybe you feel the most resonance with too, and that's where that you form your own niche group. And it's amazing, because then if I take a step back again, it's like the cake, everybody has enough cake to eat. It's not like, because one day, today we have, I don't know, maybe there are 10,000, I don't know what's the statistics, but a number, 1,000 people decide to become a coach. And then let's say I am the small me, and I say, oh, what if there's so many coaches out there? How am I going to find my own people? But there will be people, I believe, if you just
Yeah.
stay true to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are people who
Mm.
need to hear from you because they need you. They don't know that you're there. So you've got to at least give them the opportunity to come and connect with you. And then you can see whether it's a good fit for both of you. But if you don't, if you
Yeah,
stay silent,
that's
they're going
so
to struggle
true.
because they need you.
Wow. Like, we came full circle. Thank you, Aletta. So do you have a mantra that you live by?
You know, it's very interesting. I've loved the quote, and I don't know who said it, but I heard it years ago, and they said that the secret to growing old gracefully is to say yes to far more than you say no to. And I love that. In other words, don't make your world bigger. Keep saying yes, looking for opportunities, expanding, engaging with people. But the other day, I came to the conclusion that that's only half the picture. I read an article in the New York Times, and this reporter said that she kept a notebook of no's. So when she hesitated to say no because she didn't want to offend anyone or disappoint anyone, she came to the realization that she can say no to something, and in the process, she's saying yes to something else. So I might say, no, I'm not going to participate in that project because I'm saying yes to having more time with my family, or I'm saying yes to exploring something else at this point in time. So I love that balance between saying yes but saying yes for the right reasons, and also saying no when you have to, but then balancing that. If I'm saying no to that, it's because I want to say yes to more things
Other
and things
things,
that are
yeah.
important to me. So it's very intentional, and I love that. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but that really resonated with me, that say no for the right reason and relate that to what you say.
I love that because when you were saying it, it's like you're saying yes to the things that you feel it deep down that you need to say yes to, but you're not neglecting your no's because it is also a way for you to set your boundaries
Yes,
because you're also saying yes to the right reason for the right
yeah,
reasons, right? And it's you can even
absolutely.
see it from that angle. Epiphany. So, Aletta, is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
I sleep very well, but the thing that keeps me up is I don't want my world to shrink. I've
Hmm.
seen too many people grow old and the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that terrifies me. So I've always said I'm never going to be a grumpy old woman. I want to be happy and engaging and learning. I want to be a lifelong learner. So for me, the only thing that would make me like lose sleep would be if I felt I was shrinking my world instead of, there's so much beautiful stuff in this world, and we've got to keep seeking out the teachers, the coaches, the learning, the wisdom. But it's not, doesn't always come to you. You've got to look for it. And I love that. I've done that since I was a child.
I just had chills. That was a good one. Okay, so last question. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
I think it would be as simple as, we need to hear your voice and we need to hear your thoughts because only you can share them. And by doing that, you can help so many people. You've got no idea. So, all that goodness, that talent that's within you, voice it, share it, because we need it. We're waiting to hear your story. We're waiting to hear your wisdom because it's wisdom only you can share. So, don't be selfish and keep it to yourself. Share it.
Right, thank you so much. I guess that wraps up our interview today. Thank you so much, Aletta, for being so candid, honest, straightforward. Whatever you said, I definitely resonated, and I will definitely be applying that to myself. This is what I love also talking to you people every day because I just learned so much. And I have a few things going on in my life right now. I still have a 9 to 5, but I still want to know what are the thoughts of the people in the world. Like, I can't, I don't want to be, how do I say, confined to the things that I do every day. And what I love is communication, like you said, and it's spot on and something that I'm trying to own as well. And perhaps I would love to be speaking in public one day.
No reason you shouldn't. And just think of it, Nicolette, all the episodes you've recorded on your podcast have probably touched so many lives. So your quest for wisdom has touched, the ripple effect continues. So it's been your gift to the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Aletta. Well, okay, so how do people reach out to you if they want to be connected? Where do they
Well, the
need to?
one easy place is LinkedIn, is Aletta Rochat on LinkedIn. I do share a lot of what I do on LinkedIn. And I also have a self-assessment, executive presence self-assessment that you can sign up for. And I will give you the link and you can put it in the show notes, and people are welcome to
Mm-hmm.
do that just to get an awareness of what it's about, and where they feel they're strong and where they feel they might need a bit of input. So I'd be very.
Wow, brilliant. Okay, I'll be sure to include that in the caption. Thank you so much, Aletta. I think I will be reaching out to you maybe sometime soon, and we can take it offline. And I have you on Instagram, so when this airs, probably in the next couple of months, I'll be sure to tag you so you can also publish that.
Yes, I would
Thank
love to
you.
share it with you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye bye.